Final at the All-State Sugar Bowl. We're now joined by head coach Marcus Freeman from the University of Notre Dame, who will be available for 50 minutes. Coach, if you would start with a brief opening statement, and then we'll get started.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to the Sugar Bowl and everyone that has a part of putting this wonderful event and game together. I want to especially thank CEO Jeff Hundley, President Walter Becker, and President-elect Dottie Reese for hosting us. I want to thank the city of New Orleans for the great welcome yesterday as we arrived here and the hospitality they're providing over the next few days. And so we're excited to be here. You know, it's great to have all of our players here and our coaching staff, so we want the media to be able to get a chance to know our team, and after this we'll get back to work. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. For the media, please identify yourself, your name, and your media outlet. And please raise your hand when you have a question.
Thank you. We're good. Let them spend some time.
Right over here on the right side, second row.
Chris Schumerth with Capital Sports Journalism Program in Indianapolis. I just had a question, Coach, about your use of Aneyas Williams in the game against IU. He was on the field in a lot of key spots. I'm curious what he maybe brings that's a little bit different from your other two backs. And do you intend for that role to be similar against Georgia?
Yeah, I think all of our backs provide different skill sets, and we use them in different ways. And Aneyas is a guy that has progressed all season long and has really done a great job of earning the trust that we demand from your coaches and players. And you know, he's a guy that could be in there a lot more. We just got a lot of running backs that are able to help this offense be productive. And so I see him continuing to elevate his role, continuing to be a big part of what we're doing offensively, and look forward to seeing what he does on Wednesday.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a mic to you. Right here in the front row.
Hi, Coach. Ted Lewis from the Times-Picayune. Two questions for you. First of all, would you talk about how difficult it was to lure Mike Denbrock from LSU, and also, and how's that worked out? And also, you are quite a bit younger than both your coordinators. Is there ever a generation gap culturally or anything like that?
I guess I'll start with your second question first. Is there a gap? There might be a gap in terms of, you know, maybe our fashion sense or, you know, the ages of our kids are close, you know, and so, but there's a lot of wisdom there, right? There's a lot of wisdom with those coordinators and all of our coaches that I'm able to utilize to help myself. But, you know, with hiring Coach Denbrock, obviously we've had a pass together for 4 years. We're at Cincinnati. When he was the offensive coordinator, I was the defense coordinator. And I knew during those times what type of coach but person he is. And you know, when I had a chance to hire an offensive coordinator last year, he was the number one person I was going to go after. I didn't know if he would say yes or no. And ultimately, he made the decision to come back, and he made it because it was what's best for him and his family. It wasn't the opportunity to work for me, work with me. It was the opportunity for him and his family being able to come back to South Bend, and that's what was best for them. And so we're extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful to have him leading our offense, and there is a comfort knowing that our offensive coordinator is Mike Denbrock.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. Right here in the second row, right side.
Yeah, Coach. Brooks Austin with Sports Illustrated. I'm sure you've answered this question before at this point, but how do you prepare for a guy like Gunnar Stockton knowing that there's not a tremendous amount of game tape for him?
Well, I think you you utilize the game film that's there, right? There's 80-something plays of him playing this year and doing a really good job at running their offense, right? I don't think they're going to change their offense completely because of who's at quarterback. He does a lot of things well that Carson Beck did well, right? He can throw it. Carson Beck's more athletic than I thought until I started watching the film. He can do a lot of really good things, and he makes great decisions in those 86 plays that we watch. And so I don't assume it's going to be that much different, but it's also a game of adjustments, right? We have to be able to see what they're trying to do in their plan of attack versus our defense and be able to adjust. And that's what, the game of football has been all year.
Follow-up question here on the right side.
Yeah, kind of similar light. When you studied this team on Georgia on offense and defense, how stylistically similar do you find them to be to what you guys do at Notre Dame?
There are some parallels. I do believe they're an offense that believes in running the football, and that's what we believe in. Our offense philosophy, we have to be able to run the football. That creates a lot of openings in the pass game. And although we might throw for more yards than we do run sometimes, it doesn't matter. It's a philosophy of being able to run the football. And I think Georgia has a similar mindset. They got big old linemen that are tough, that can drive you off the ball, do a really good job of trying to take advantage of what you are giving them defensively. And so those are similar things that we do. We want to get the ball to our playmakers in space, no matter who those playmakers are, and let them make plays. And so I think there is some overall general philosophy similarities between the two offenses, but obviously there's some differences too.
Right here in the front row, left side.
I got another one there for you. Coach, I think yesterday was James Franklin talked about the need for a commissioner-type person to lead college football. With everything going on in the portal and transfers and NIL, everything else, is there a need for some kind of centralized leadership in college football?
Yeah, I think there's always a need for leadership, no matter what the organization is. How do we continue to enhance it? I don't know if there's just one answer for how you make college football better. I think it's a collective group of individuals and thoughts and a commissioner, and there's a lot of different things that I think could really go into the equation to enhancing our sport. And so I think everybody wants it to improve, but we also have to have empathy for all different sides. We have to have the understanding of the demands of our young people, academically, NIL-wise, socially, all the different demands they have on them. And then also understand the expectations we have as a football program and the football programs across the country. So I don't believe there's just a one answer to truly fix or enhance college football and college athletics. But I do believe we're progressing. I believe every year you're seeing enhancements and decisions made that I think everybody has, the mindset of how do we make this thing better. And I foresee it continuing to improve. And so I don't ever want the headline to be that Marcus Freeman said, this is what you need to do to make college football right. There is no one right answer. There's a collective group of thoughts and people that are continuously investing into this sport and trying to find a way to continue to make it better for our young people.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. On the right side, second row.
Hi, Marcus. So per CFB FastR, Trevor Etienne has some of the most, he has the highest third down usage by Georgia and then their highest standard down usage besides Carson Beck. How are you going to key in on him, and what does he present that's kind of a challenge to stop?
Yeah. Trust me, it isn't just third down. It's first, second, and third, and fourth. I mean, He is a really explosive, very good football player. If you give him space, he's going to take it, and he's got the ability to take it the entire way. So he's a challenge. And he's a challenge in the run game, but also in the pass game. And so we have to know where all their backs are at all times. Like, they utilize their backs in really unique ways. And it's not just one guy. I think Etienne is extremely talented. He does a lot of things well, but they got a stable of backs that present challenges. So we have to know where they're at. We have to know where they're aligned and really have a great plan for their running back situation.
Right side, second row.
Probably something you've talked about ad nauseum, but just the loss of Rylie Mills. Can you just allude to what he meant for your football team this year?
Yeah, I think number one, he's a captain. He's a captain. He's a leader. That's the one thing that hurts you. You can't replace a captain, and you can't replace his leadership. You have to try to replace the production with multiple different people, ways, schemes, schematic things. It's not just going to be one person that's going in there to replace Rylie Mills. You feel terribly for him as an individual, right? He came back to really lead this program to the position it's at, to improve his draft stock. And I believe in my heart that he improved his draft stock, and he's led this team to a great position. But now we have to be able to replace his production with capable guys that we have in this program. And so we've got some guys that have played a lot of ball behind Rylie that will step up to the challenge and I believe do great things on Wednesday.
Second row.
Kind of like a similar question to my previous one. So Riley Leonard has your second highest usage on rushing plays. As we just talked about with an injury, how do you balance when you run him, because he's such a critical component of the offense, with trying to protect him from injury as you anticipate having 2 more games to play?
Yeah, we know the ability that Rylie has to run the football is something that helps our offense. It's not always a design quarterback run. It's sometimes his decision to take off and make a play with his legs. As the head coach, you hate to see your quarterback get hit, but it's a part of the game, and it's what makes him unique and special and productive for our offense. So I don't want to take that away from him. We have to utilize what he does well, but also understand that he's our quarterback and we got to protect him. So I think there's a fine line of how much he runs versus how much we design QB runs versus, hey, stay in the pocket and throw the ball. We have to utilize all 3 different areas in our offense, and that will be a part of our plan coming up.
All right here, right side, second row.
Yeah, Coach, kind of more of a general broad question. When you look at Georgia offensively and defensively, what do you think their identity is on both sides of the ball?
You can tell they're a physical, aggressive, attacking mindset. They're big on the offensive line. They run the ball. They got some good backs. And, again, they can throw the ball too, right? They got some skill that presents challenges. Defensively, again, they're big. They're big up front. They got multiple backers like they do running backs that make plays that are difference makers, and they got good skills. So really balanced team. I think when you say what's their identity, I don't know what they want to be. I know what I see is a physical, sound team that plays with velocity, and it's something that we often talk about in our program, is that at the end of the day, it's not going to be about tricking your opponent. It's going to be about playing with velocity, which would equals violence and, some other physical attacking words. So it's a really good football program.
Left side, front row.
Getting plenty of stuff in here. Y'all are obviously able to enjoy being at home against Indiana for the first round of the playoffs. Here you're coming down to a bowl trip, and you've made them before, and you've had 3, 4, 5 days, and now it's come in 1 day of practice, so forth. Is this conducive to your team, both teams being prepared as well as they can, or would you rather see more home fields for the playoffs?
You know, I thought the first round of playoff was amazing to have a home playoff game and multiple, I think 4 of them around the country. It was amazing. It really was. But you don't want to take away from the history and what makes college football special in these bowl games. You know, the Sugar Bowl, I think, is the second longest bowl in all bowls, right? And I grew up watching the Nokia Sugar Bowl, which is now obviously the All-State Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl and some of these famous bowl games that I think it's awesome that we're able to have these home playoff games in the first round, and you still keep the tradition and the history of these bowl games as you go into, you know, the quarterfinals and the semifinals and the finals. I think it's a great mixture. I think they got the formula right in terms of the location and you know, being able to play that first round at home or on a college campus, and then still keeping intact the history and tradition of our bowl games.
Please raise your hand if you have a question.